Hey everyone, welcome back to Junkyard Jenny's Garage. I'm Junkyard Jenny. Today we are going to take apart the rear suspension on a 1971 240Z. This is actually the same from 1970 to 1973. I like to take my parts down to component level because that's how I sell them. So I'll sell, the rear lower control arm, I'll sell the strut housing, the strut caps, all of that stuff, even the backing plates. So I'm gonna take this down to component level, basically all the way down to all the little parts, and hopefully you can learn something along the way. Keep in mind though, I'm a dismantler, so I'm probably going to destroy a lot of the parts, not the parts that I would sell obviously, but I'm going to destroy some of the parts to take this thing apart, which you're not going to want to do if you're going to be rebuilding. Of course, you're probably going to want to use some new parts as well. It just all depends on what you're going to do. You might have to make some modifications to how I do this. So anyway, let's get started. I do have a little handful of tools right here. So the very first thing you have to do is take the drum off. And usually you have to beat them. Let me see how this one comes off. Hold on. That wasn't so bad. Usually we have to beat the heck out of them. Okay, right down here you're going to see a 12mm nut. That has to come out. That actually holds in a pin that holds this big long rod in. So that's the first thing we're going to do, is take that 12mm out of there. Okay, so now there's the pin. Now you want to knock that out. Let me grab a hammer. Okay, so that is out. Now the next thing you want to do is pull these two 17mm nuts on either side. So we're going to do that right now. That was gross. Probably some sort of animal hair or something right there. That's nasty. Okay, so now the next part is to get this giant pin out of here. There's all kinds of different ways to do it. Mine's a little unorthodox. But keep in mind, I'm not saving this pin. So as such, I'm going to be using an air hammer. If you're going to use an air hammer, a little bit of advice on this, you're going to want to stay as centered in here as you can, because the problem is if you mushroom this out, it's not going to make it through to the other side. So I'm going to try to be as gentle as I can on it without mushrooming it. Hopefully it'll come off okay. It doesn't appear that we're moving, which means I probably mushroomed it pretty good. So I'm going to flip it over and do the other side. Big old tote. All right, I'm gonna have to move the camera now, because there you go. But you can see here it's starting to come out the other side. And as far as I can tell, I haven't really damaged it, so I'm gonna put this up here and push it the rest of the way through. That's the pin. And as you can see, it did destroy both threaded ends of it. This one you can't really tell, but it's squished. But you're probably going to be replacing that part anyhow. All right, let's move on to the next piece. Now that that's off, you can take the control arm off, and they usually just fall off. The control arm actually looks pretty good. So now the next piece we're going to go for is this inner stub axle right here. And this is accessed with this big nut here on the back. So this is a 27 millimeter, and hopefully my impact gun is strong enough to get it off. Let's try it. Nope. All right, so we got to get the big one out. All right. Come on. It's kind of hard to do this one-handed, I'm discovering. All right. So that came off pretty well. Can't really tell what the threads look like quite yet. They don't look horrible. But now we're going to go ahead and push that through using, once again, the air hammer. There we go. Okay, so this back piece off, that looks good. I kind of got this thing jammed in here a little bit. Let me try to. Why that thing is so stinking grumpy, but it's out. The only problem is when I did that, I knocked the stud out. So we'll have to remember to put that back in later. All right, what is next? Next, we're going to get the brakes and the backing plate off of the strut housing. So you can see here, at these two springs right here, plus this one and this one. So our goal right now is to go ahead and get those off. And since these springs are a little tough, sometimes you're going to need a pry bar to give it some persuasion. Bam and bam. Brakes are off. So, next thing is this little dude right here. This one has actually got some hidden things that hold it on. So I want to show you how to get that off. Okay, first thing I want to do actually is take this brake line off because that's going to be a problem for us a little bit later. Grumpy pantalones. All right. Okay, so now under this rubber thing, there are two horseshoe-shaped clips, one on each side. You kind of have to dig for them. See that? That's the first little horseshoe-shaped dude you want to pull out. A little flat blade screwdriver, and it slides right out. That is what it looks like. Now there's another one in here going the opposite direction. You want to pull that off doing the exact same thing. All right, here's the second one. Now you have to finagle this out of there by sort of taking this rubber boot off and pushing through at the same time. Again, a two-handed thing. Hold on. See, we got these 14s right here. Zip those guys off if I can figure out what the heck I do with my socket. There it is. Ugh. Sorry. Hoggering. Trying to keep it from falling off. Come on. Don't get grumpy on me. All right. So now our backing plate should come off, but I'm probably gonna have to beat on it a little bit as well. All right, hang tight. Blammo! All right, this backing plate is off, and as far as Datsun backing plates go, it's actually not that bad a shape. It does have a little bit of, you know, denting where I got kind of violent with it, but there's no rust on this. Lots of surface rust, so we'll go ahead and keep that dude. Okay, now we have the strut housing. We need to get the strut cartridge out. How you do that is you compress the spring with a McPherson Strut. Oh my gosh, let me try that again. Sorry. McPherson Strut compressor, which I don't have. So I'm gonna do this the Neanderthal way. Don't do this at home. Okay. So, coil spring is off and the strut cap is off. Usually these come apart, but this thing looks like it's good and gross in there. Okay, so moving on. Now, we need to take the strut cartridge out, and to do that you take this big nut off here. And there's a couple of different ways we can do this. I'm gonna bring this over to my vise, and the first thing we're gonna try is a big pair of channel locks. So you just wanna put this bad boy right on there. And okay, not gonna go. So now we're gonna do it the easy way. Remember our little friend, the air hammer? Okay, well, we're gonna use this, but here's how we're gonna do it. You're just gonna set the tip of your air hammer right here on the very edge. What you don't wanna do is get into the cartridge housing here. You wanna just do it right here. And the goal is to sort of make just like a little cut in it first. You don't wanna try to, you're not trying to thread it off. Putting a little cut in it. Now that you got a cut, now you're gonna start threading it off using the air hammer. And as you can see, it's starting to thread out. I don't know if I can get that with my hand or not. Oh, look at that. Yay. Sometimes I have to air hammer them all the way up, which sucks. Okay, so now that that's out, we're gonna take it out of the vise. Okay. And we're gonna walk it over to the drain bin, because there's generally a whole bunch of strut gas in here and oil, and it's messy, and you don't want that all over your shop. So we're gonna drain it right here. See that? Pull the whole thing out. Oh wow, look at that. There's actually no oil in here. Nope, good. That makes things a lot easier. Okay, now the last thing I want to do is that on that stub axle over there, they had these inner sleeves that generally like to stay with that particular stub axle. They're marked A, B, and C, and of course you want them to match. So I'm going to grab that air hammer and push that sleeve out using the bearing. Since you're going to replace the bearing anyway, you can go ahead and use the bearing to do so, and that way you eliminate the possibility of damaging the sleeve. So let's get that out. Okay, so that's the front bearing. And here is our little sleeve. Right here. Woo. I love the goo. Ugh. See? That little sleeve lives right over here on the stub axle. Okay, so now that we've got this all apart, my job is to clean all this stuff up and sell these parts, because that's what I do. So we got some good stuff out of it. We did get I call it a lower control arm, some people call it a transverse arm, whatever. Here's an interesting fact about these. On the Z cars, well, technically they run 70 to 73 and then 74 to 78, but all it really is just a matter of slight little differences in how it's built. So you can actually use them from 70 up to 78. So that's one thing. The second thing about these is that they were not side to side. So you can use a left on a right and a right on a left. And Nissan, all they did was just simply flip it. So if you look here, you'll see that these two look identical. See how they have the same swerve? Well, this one was actually on that suspension upside down. I mean, I know that kind of sounds counter, but so you can use a left on a right and a right on a left. So if you happen to be in a junkyard and you come across two of them that are the same, that's fine. They're all the same. So anyway, there you go. So we have control arm, strut housing, backing plate, and stub axle. All right, that's going to do it for me today. Hopefully that helped you guys out a little bit. Sorry it took so long. It's really hard to do this one-handed. You guys have a good one. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.